I know that I have the pleasure of introducing Nancy Wilcox Richards, who tonight, Carol Angel couldn't make it tonight, and we only found out at 5 o'clock, so John Merchant called his friend, Nancy Wilcox Richards, to see if she would, at 5 o'clock, talk for 5 minutes here. And I don't think she made her mind up until about 5 minutes ago, and 2 glasses of wine. You know, wine has its medicinal benefits, Lord. Lord's not here. But let me tell you a little bit about Nancy. Nancy Wilcox Richards is the author of Claire's Race, Lost in the Blizzard, the Farmer Joe picture series, as well as the popular Here, How to Tame a Bully series. He has also written a freelance teacher resource guide for Curriculum Plus. Nancy has just retired as an elementary teacher for 33 years at the home-based school system. Nancy Wilcox Richards, please. Okay.
Nancy, I think they want us up here, so we're going to move over.
We're not walking away from
That's
thank you, and as John said, this is a big surprise, me being up here. You can put me in front of a room full of kids, not a problem. But I was a bit more reticent about speaking tonight in front of a group of adults. But anyway, John Merchant, who is one of my publishers with Curriculum Plus, has been so amazing with me. After I hummed and hawed, and I said, I'll make my mind up at the last second, I thought, how can I say no? So, when I was trying to figure out, well, what will I speak to you folks about as far as publishing locally and supporting local industry in the publishing world, I thought I would share to you my story about Claire's Race. Because local publishers, I think, really have a vested interest in things that go on in our community. And they care about building the community, and sometimes when you work with a larger publishing company, they don't have that same sense of togetherness that we have. So quite a few years ago, and I'll share the story for Claire's Race, which is probably one of the books that I am most proud of having published, because it's a true story about my next door neighbor, Claire. And when she was 5 years old, up till the age of 5, she'd been a very typically developing little girl. But at the age of 5, she said to her mom one day, she felt like there were spiders wearing sneakers dancing on her arm. Now, me as a mom, I probably just would have passed that off. But her mother didn't, for whatever reason. And over time, and you have to stop and think too how articulate Claire was for a 5-year-old at that point in time to even say that. Over time, Claire proceeded to say that this feeling of spiders wearing sneakers dancing on her arm or her leg, it grew. And that was the beginning of actually small seizures for Claire. So over time, these seizures grew and grew until they became so intense that Claire was seizuring every 3 minutes. So whenever I say that, and this story is very dear to my heart, but I've told this so many times to audiences, and every time it just grabs me. Anyway, so after having these seizures, she went to sick kids in Toronto. They couldn't figure out what it was, but it was at the IWK in Halifax that they were finally able to diagnose that she had a very rare form of epilepsy known as Rasmussen's encephalitis. And the only way to treat it, after they had tried numerous drugs, very strict diets, and all avenues were exhausted, they had to perform brain surgery. So Claire had a hemispherectomy, which of course left her very disabled. So at the age of 5, and this was done here in Halifax with a great team of surgeons and support staff. So at the age of 5, Claire had to learn to think very differently. She had to learn to walk all over again. The surgery left her physically disabled in that, if I get this right, her left arm doesn't move, and she has a very pronounced limp on her with her left leg, and she's lost some of her vision. So life is very, very different for Claire. So if we fast track a little bit to about when she's in grade 2, she lives in my subdivision a few doors over, and she sees my son go by on a scooter, which was all the rage back then. So she says to her mom, like, I really want to ride a scooter like Chris. And her mom never ever really says no. She says, we'll think of something different. So that's what her mom says, we'll think of something different. So, because of course Claire only has one good arm to hold onto the scooter and one really good leg. The next day, somebody else is out biking. And of course, Claire wants to ride a bicycle. And her mom says, we'll think of something different, think of something else. On the third day, it was, I think, rollerblading. And it was her best friend Rachel was out rollerblading, and of course Claire wants to go rollerblading. And her mom says, well, you know, she knows it's not a really good idea, we'll think of something else. And with that, Claire kind of crosses her arms and she storms off to the backyard, and she's in a mood. She doesn't want to be always told she has to think of something else, that she can't do the things all her friends are doing. So, later on that year at the Headfield School, Claire gets off the bus one day and she's so excited. And she says to her mom, you're never going to guess what I signed up for. And her mom says, did you sign up for more art lessons? And Claire says, no. And did you sign up for a junior choir? No. And of course, she has led a very, very enriched life, that her parents have given her all kinds of opportunities to grow and develop to her full potential. And Claire smiles and she says, I signed up for a cross-country race. And the look on her mom's face must have said it all. And Claire said, you're not going to tell me no to that too. And anyway, long story short, after lots of discussion and with the help of the Headville staff and an amazing phys ed teacher, Ms. Brine, Claire was able to run this cross-country race at the Headville School in June. And word kind of spread, as in a small community, that this kid was going to run a race who was very disabled. And normally at these races, you know, parents kind of watch their kids run, and then they get the little participation ribbon and the parents leave with their kids. But that day, nobody left. Everybody knew that this little girl was there trying to do something amazing. So when Claire takes off, she runs the way she had run before her surgery. Like her strides were long and even, and then she settles down into what is kind of her normal walk, that Terry Fox kind of walk, the hop, skip, hop, skip. And with cross-country running, I don't know if you're aware, but the runners all kind of go in behind the woods and they're out of sight for a bit. So of course Claire is out of sight, and her mom is there watching, and of course she's really worried, like what if she trips and hurts her good arm? You know, what if she gives up because, you know, it's just too physically demanding, and she's got, you know, vision problems. And all of a sudden the runners start coming out from the woods and they start to cross the parking lot of the school. And the first one to cross is her best friend Rachel. And everybody's watching, and the kids are coming one by one by one, and there's no sign of Claire. And everybody's waiting like, where is she? So that was the impetus for me, and of course I can't tell you how it ends. Then you wouldn't want to buy the book.
On sale on the corner for Killing
Correct. But to me, that was a story that I thought kids should really hear about overcoming adversity. Curriculum Plus was the publisher who took the chance on that. Now, what's really interesting for me about that is that besides me thinking it's a great story that everybody should hear, the other thing is the family has told me that that book for them was a healing process. It was the beginning of them starting to heal, because their expectations for Claire, who by the way is in second year Mount Allison University now, yes, that book was the beginning of them realizing that they had healing to do. The other thing that happened is Claire began to go out and speak about her disability to kids in schools. And the last thing, when we talk about the great thing that local publishers can do in bringing these stories that really do count, that are so amazing right here within our community, is that a bit of an economic spin for this is that all the royalties that I would make are donated back to the Epilepsy Association of Nova Scotia, which in turn goes to educate kids about epilepsy. So when we think about our local publishers and all that they do, I mean, I tip my hat off to John and Curriculum Plus for taking a chance on a book that the big publishers said, who would ever want to read it? And it's an amazing story that needs to be told, that has really helped to heal not only a family, a school, a community, but also pays back dividends to the broader community through the Epilepsy Association of Nova Scotia. So that's my experience of working with a wonderful local publisher. And thank you for listening to me ramble with no speech, and I'm sure everybody else will be.
None of us are going to speak now.
So I just say, if I have to speak, put me up first, because I don't have anything prepared, and I'll feel really bad after listening to everybody's
How
eloquent
much fun
speeches.
did you have, really?
Anyway,
Thanks,
thank
Anne.
you.